Can you imagine if you weren't consumed by the number on the scale or the way that you look in the mirror and instead felt confident in your body? Up until I was 16 years old, I struggled with my body in any way that you could possibly imagine. I'm not talking just a little stubborn baby weight, it was definitely much darker and deeper than that. I was not only nearly 200 pounds and leading this really unhealthy lifestyle, but I was actually functioning like an addict. I was lying about the food that I was eating. I was going into my bedroom, eating a bunch of food and hiding the wrappers in different places so that nobody would find out. And I was even stealing money from my mother just so that I could buy junk food from the convenience store. At the time, she was a waitress and she had been collecting quarters in her tips, these commemorative quarters that were for the Olympics that were in Vancouver at the time. Each quarter had a different sport, and I knew exactly where she had these quarters that were in a big Ziploc bag in a drawer. When nobody was looking, I would go into this Ziploc bag of quarters and I would start taking money to go and buy junk food from the convenience store. I didn't want to ask my parents for money because A, I knew that they would say no, and B, I just didn't want anyone to know that I was buying this junk food that everybody knew was bad for me and was just making my current situation even worse and worse. One day, I got caught. And it was this moment that I just knew I was caught. When your mom screams at you from downstairs and you're upstairs, and it's that tone of voice that you just know that you're in trouble. She screamed, I came downstairs, and she's sitting at the kitchen table with an empty Ziploc with this super disappointed look on her face. We just didn't even need to say anything. I mean, what could she say? Her 16-year-old daughter stole some money from her just to go and buy junk food from the convenience store. I'm sorry were the only words that I was able to muster. I lived in constant shame. I was ashamed of my body. I was ashamed of my actions. I was ashamed of the way that I was treating other people. It was a vicious cycle. Getting caught was one of the many moments that I realized I needed to change. If I didn't change, I was setting myself up for more and more disappointment. But deciding to change and actually changing are completely different things. I tried everything. I tried cutting carbs, I tried skipping meals, I tried exercising, I tried eating clean, whatever that means, and I just couldn't manage to stick to anything. And I definitely couldn't do it alone. One day, which is the day that changed my entire life, my mom decided to take me to a nutritionist. We walk into the nutritionist's office and the first thing she makes me do is get on the scale. And my heart started racing. It was beating out of my chest. And I look at the nutritionist and I ask her, does my mom need to be here? And without any hesitation, she says yes. She leaves me no option to convince her otherwise. That was the moment that I was really on the hook to change. And I did change in a way. My mom helped, my nutritionist helped, I started to look at food and nutrition differently, and I even lost 50 pounds, which is definitely no small feat. Losing weight was not the hardest part. Changing my eating habits was also not the hardest part. And neither of those things is easy per se. I mean, no matter which nutrition program you follow, if you're gonna lose 50 pounds or any weight at all, it's going to take hard work and discipline. But that's just not where the real struggle is. The real struggle is not dieting, it's maintaining the diet. It's keeping the weight off and integrating healthy habits consistently enough so that they become a part of your everyday life. In fact, when all is said and done, it's doing away with the idea of a diet completely, turning a diet into a lifestyle. I spent 16 years building this really strange relationship with food, and after losing 50 pounds, my life just didn't all of a sudden become this fairy tale. I lost all the weight and I still wasn't happy. The truth is, the real transformation to my life happened when the scale wasn't the focus of all of my attention. It all really started to turn around when I finally took a second and became proud of myself for my hard work. That's hard work that I was and am still doing every single day. I started focusing on the kind of person that I wanted to be, the kinds of behaviors and habits that I really just wanted to become a part of who I was. I didn't need to worry about the scale. The scale and the way that I look in the mirror is something I'm always going to worry about. It comes naturally to me. I don't have to try. Intentionally focusing on the inside and making that a practice is what took my short-term accomplishments and turned them into long-term success. It's been almost 13 years since I was that 16-year-old girl, and I've spent every single day since dedicating my life to maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and I've been helping over 15,000 other people do the same. The thing is that life is still not a fairy tale. I still have hard days, I still eat things I shouldn't, I still freak out over the scale, but the difference is I now know the secret to long-term sustainable change. Your scale and your mirror just might actually be your enemies. The biggest thing that I see holding people back from making long-term sustainable change is using the scale and the mirror as the basis for their success. I see people get so frustrated over the number on the scale that they start treating people that they love poorly and disrespectfully. People tell me all the time that they need to lose 10 pounds before they can even get to the gym, which, ironically, going to the gym can help you lose that 10 pounds. Or people that have everything going for them in their life just see 1 pound fluctuation on their scale and it ruins their entire day. When I say people, that definitely includes me. I've definitely been that person before and I still am that person. But what if I asked you this one question? What would your life be like if the scale didn't have so much power over you? If you were confident and happy regardless of the number on the scale? We give the scale and the mirror so much power over us that we lose sight of the bigger picture. We're willing to, in the short term, put in an excess amount of time and energy just to see the number on the scale move or some type of significant to us change in the way that we look in the mirror. In my experience, this level of shame-driven commitment lasts roughly 8 to 16 weeks. Think about that. 8 to 16 weeks. What type of significant change happens in 8 to 16 weeks? Babies learn to walk in 9 to 16 months. That's months. They start crawling, they try to roll over, they stand up and hold on to things, and they fall over thousands and thousands of times. But they don't stop trying to learn how to walk. But for so many of us, if the scale hasn't budged, or worse, moved in the wrong direction, we give up. We come to the conclusion that this diet just doesn't work, or worse yet, that we're doomed to live in this body that we call hell on earth. But the truth is, the scale and the mirror take time, and no one can tell you how long that's going to take. And I might be the bearer of bad news, but it's going to take longer than 8 to 16 weeks to see long-term success. It's time to change what we deem as success. You've been following a nutrition program for 8 to 16 weeks, the scale hasn't budged, and you look no different in the mirror, which sucks. But what sucks even more is not noticing the progress that you are making. You have a better understanding of your hunger cues. You're eating more vegetables than you've ever eaten in your entire life. You're more consistent with your exercise. You have better energy levels throughout the day. Or even at the most basic level, you've remained committed and accountable to your health and wellness for 8 to 16 weeks. That's a fucking miracle, regardless of whether the scale or the mirror reflect it yet. In a world that demands instant gratification and quick fixes, where fast weight loss is put right back on plus some, maintaining focus on building behaviors and habits that help you live a better life is a huge win. Spending time to understand how food makes you feel and how it affects your life is a win. Putting intentional effort towards being a better version of yourself is a huge win. Now, I know life isn't a competition, but showing up at all is winning a fight that millions of people are losing every single day. Focusing on what is within your control is the number one thing that keeps people going when most others are throwing in the towel. Life is short, and I know I don't want to let the scale rule my life until one day I look back and I realize it just didn't matter as much as I thought it did. Today is the day that you decide you're worth it, one small step at a time, regardless of what the scale says or what your liar of a brain is telling you when you look in the mirror. Are you with me?